How's everybody doing tonight, this Friday evening? It is so wonderful to be here. I just want to welcome everybody here to Tico Hall at the Tampa Bay History Center. You know, and as we settle into this very beautiful evening, getting ready to celebrate Black history, we want to make sure that everybody's good. Just want to have your attention as we begin this program. And it is such a pleasure to see all of your faces. I've had the opportunity to talk to some of the dignitaries in the room, so many historians here in the room, and all of you guests who have decided that this is the place that you wanted to spend your Friday evening as we celebrate Black History Month. I'm Emerald Morrow, and I am an investigative reporter and fill-in anchor at 10 Tampa Bay, Channel 10, and it is such a pleasure to be here with you. I always love coming to the History Center. History is one of my favorite things to discuss and cover in the news. We don't often think about the importance of history in news, but it's always important to have context. And when I'm reporting, I always want to make sure, especially when we're talking about issues related to the African American community, that we are bringing that context to the table and making sure that we are accurate and telling the full story, which we know a lot of times is not always covered, especially in the news. And before we start off this program, I just want to mention a quote. If a race has no history, if it has no worthwhile tradition, it becomes a negligible factor in the thought of the world, and it stands in danger of being exterminated. That's a quote from Dr. Carter G. Woodson, who was the founder of Negro History Week, which became what we now know as Black History Month. Black history is American history, right? Yes. There is no American story separate from the African and African American experience and tradition. This Black History Month reception is made possible thanks to the support from the Tampa Housing Authority, Hancock Whitney, and Bobby Bowden. We thank you so much for your support. Now, let's give a real hearty welcome to a Tampa Bay treasure, a man who knows a whole heck of a lot about the Black experience and the Black tradition and Black history here in Tampa Bay. This is the curator of Black history here at the Tampa Bay History Center. Please, let's give a warm welcome to Mr. Fred Hearns.
Thank you, Emerald, and good evening, everyone. I wish you could see what I see. This is a beautiful sea of humanity and love, and I thank you all for joining us this evening for the third annual Black History Month reception here in Tico Hall at the Tampa Bay History Center. Anyone here inside this building at the History Center for the first time? Raise your hands. Okay, quite a few people. At the end of the program this evening, if you have not had the opportunity to do so yet, I really encourage you to visit the third floor just above us and see Travails and Triumphs, a permanent African-American exhibit here at the Tampa Bay History Center. It opened in June last year. We had over 1,400 people to visit us on that day. Juneteenth was a free day here at the Tampa Bay History Center. And every day is a special day here at the Tampa Bay History Center. So as Emerald said, we certainly again want to acknowledge our gold sponsor, the Tampa Housing Authority, Hancock Whitney, our bronze sponsor, and Mr. Bobby Bowden, and many of you who supported us throughout the years. How many of you have attended this event before, either last year or the year before? Quite a few people, good. So we hope that after this evening, you'll go back and tell everybody in your family, everybody you know, what a great time you had, how much you learned, and how you really enjoyed this evening here at the Tampa Bay History Center. One of the things that we do each year is present an award in the name of Reverend Dr. LaFayette. You will hear from him a little later on this evening. We also honor young people who value Black history through the Thurgood Marshall History Club. School Board Member Lynn Gray and School Board Member Henry Washington and many others support that program. We also want to do something each year and maybe add a little something different or something new. And this year, we have an African fashion show thanks to African Extravaganza, a local business here in Tampa, and so many other people that we want to thank for volunteering their time to help us on our mission here at the Tampa Bay History Center. And I'll take just a moment to encourage you to take a look at this brochure. There are several throughout the room. We're asking you to consider joining the Tampa Bay History Center. Membership information is on the back of this brochure. It's not very expensive. You'll get on our email list. You'll find out what we're doing. And let me tell you, we have something for everyone, from little tots all the way to my age. And I turned 75 a few months ago. So let me encourage you again to consider joining us. I also want to say that we have a partnership with the Tampa Bay Housing Authority, not only for sponsoring this event, but a brand new adventure that we started out on last year, St. James at Encore. Those of you who are natives of Tampa, you'll remember Central Park Village, which is now Encore. The Tampa Housing Authority has done an absolutely amazing job in putting that housing program together. And they partnered with the Tampa Bay History Center to help to create a small museum space in the St. James building, formerly the St. James Episcopal Church, that beautiful historic red brick church right in the middle of Encore. We have, for the first time, to my knowledge, a Black History Book Club, and we have these flyers throughout the room. We encourage you to take one of these flyers. We have the first session Monday next week, and pretty much every last Monday in the month throughout the year, except for December, we'll be discussing a different book, books about Black people, books written by Black people. We encourage you to visit our museum store. These books are on sale there as well as other places throughout the community. And we're starting with Up From Slavery, the autobiography of Booker T. Washington, on Monday, February 26th at 5:30 p.m. at St. James at Encore, 1202 North Governor Street in Tampa, Florida. Quickly, before I take my seat, I do want to mention, as I said earlier, Travails and Triumphs. And if you don't get an opportunity to see everything this evening, come on back. We're open 7 days a week from 10 to 5. And so we encourage you to visit Travails and Triumphs. Our sponsors there are TICO People's Gas, the Hillsborough County Board of County Commissioners, and the Tampa Bay Lightning. We also have a community case that is free to the community. Any nonprofit group that wants to put an exhibit on display featuring the history of your organization, your church, what have you, you can do so. Right now we have a beautiful display. It absolutely is beautiful, from the Woods and Wanton chapter of the Buffalo Soldiers on the 3rd floor on exhibit, while Covia Foundation is the sponsor. I also want to mention that on the 3rd floor we have a beautiful exhibit that's brand new. It's a tribute to the legacy of Ann Lowe, a Black dressmaker and designer who lived for many years in Tampa, who later moved to New York, who studied at the New York City Taylor School of Design, who designed the wedding dress for Jacqueline Kennedy. We actually have one of the Ann Lowe dresses on display on the 3rd floor in Travails and Triumphs. And we have a tribute to her by several students at Middleton High School. I know that our speaker this evening and Dr. LaFayette are both graduates of Middleton High School. I know you'll want to see that display. It's on the 3rd floor. And with that, I've probably taken a little more time than I said I would take. I apologize to my colleagues. I said I'd be short. This is as short as I can be. Happy Black History Month, and God bless.
Thank you so much, Fred. And with that, you know, no Black History Month celebration is complete without singing the Black National Anthem, right? All right, so please stand as we join Corporal Sonia Wise with the Tampa Police Department for Lift Every Voice and Sing, and the words are on your program.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring. Ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. Stony the road we trod, bitter the chastening rod, felt in the days when hope unborn had died, yet with a steady beat have not our weary feet come to the place for which our Father sighed. We have come over a way that with tears have been watered. We have come treading our path through the blood of slaughtered. Out from the gloomy past till now we stand at last, where the white gleam for which our star was cast. God of our wearies, God of our silent tears, thou who hast brought us thus far on our way, thou who hast by thy might led us into the light, keep us forever in thy path, we pray. Lest our feet stray from the places, our God, where we met thee, lest our hearts, drunk with the wine of the world, we forget thee. Shadow beneath thy hand, may we forever stand, true to our God, true to our native land. That's how we sing it at a HBCU.
Thank you so much for that beautiful, beautiful rendition of a song that is so important to the African American tradition. Thank you. And you might have heard another voice that was going over here. I didn't know Fred Hearns had a voice on him. He was over here just throwing down. All right, we've had our song. Now it's time for a little spoken word. So we are going to welcome poet, writer, and educator, Ms. Charmaine Jennings.
Look to your left and say, I will appreciate. I will appreciate. Look to your right and say, I will appreciate. I will appreciate. If that is true, then why do we appreciate health when sickness shows up? Why do we appreciate children after they're all grown up? Why do we appreciate love when we are surrounded with hate? Why do we appreciate sun when there's torrential rain? We appreciate the cold weather when it's scorching hot. We appreciate friendly support when we're alone and distraught. We appreciate our past teachers when we become community leaders ourselves. We seek acknowledgement, affirmation, appreciation for emotional healing that compels. We appreciate a friendly face when we're nervous and scared. We appreciate spirituality when things are beyond human repair. Through every season, we must learn to appreciate without condition or reason. We must seize every moment and live love out loud, accepting our calling when moved from the back to the front of the crowd. We must speak gratitude fearlessly with our sisters and brothers in order to find greatness in others. So if you see someone and not see hope, look again. If you see someone and not see love, look again. Appreciate again. Now, my next question for y'all, I think y'all warmed up. Y'all ready for me? All right? Is Black history? February is when Black history is celebrated as a U.S. nation. But how much about this celebration do we really know? Are we sharing the truth with our children, or have we lost our will to grow? Is Black an American story? Ancestors rose up and out of oppression like the sweet fragrances of jasmine in springtime. Rose like a bed of weeds uprooted during springtime. They danced to the beat of their own drums, sung hymns and gospel like the battle was already won. Their dreams were the past, future, and present, hidden within the melody and belly of the message. Now, we must time travel and journey with our fathers and mothers. They danced the Hully Gully. Where y'all at? Who danced the Hully Gully? That's right. They danced the Hully Gully, the doo-wop, the shuffle, amongst others. They Motown their way into the two-step and the 360-degree spin and split. Back when the godfather of soul made things black and proud, epic. And say it loud. Oh, y'all ain't proud. Come on, say it loud. That's right. Is Black history? If anyone chooses to call me Black, and I choose to answer, the story will read like the poetic movements of a lyrical dancer. Black, like Diane Carroll's Sophistication and the 1974 hit TV Claudine. Black, like Felicia Rashad's A Raisin in the Sun motherly moment scene. Oh, Black, no matter who the Academy Award Committee determines should win. Black, like the dark chocolate complexion of Viola Davis's beautiful skin. If you dare say, hello, Black people, it better taste sweet, sweet and authentic like sun-brewed Southern tea, or my great-great-great-great-grandmother's biscuit recipe, with Alaga syrup slowly dripping and drizzling and flowing nonstop, a side of butter grits, gravy with 2 thick sliced piece bacons laid across the top. And complimenting us should be rich, like my mama's 4-flavored macaroni and cheese that requires you to get a spatula to cut out that perfect square piece. Not to be confused with mac and cheese that slides and moves, No offense, but during Soul Food Sundays, that absolutely will not do, okay? And please be warned that if you mess up the potato salad, the pound cake, the collard greens, and the baked beans, you will be forbidden to cook for any other family events, okay? Your assignment is to bring the plates, the utensils, and the butter pecan ice cream. Is Black history? Black never complains unless it promotes change. We echo Dr. King's letters from jail and his I Have a Dream speech. We play the symphonic bellows of Malcolm X, who warned us that violence helps us to appreciate peace. like the 1965 Act that granted voting rights, like Oprah Winfrey's joyous cry for Barack Obama's presidential fight. History should reveal the heart of progress. Black history is the key to the democracy and its success. History of a newly written U.S. Constitution that preambles appropriate Black credit and restitution. Black history must feel like dreams conferred, above and beyond what elders have seen, thought, or ever heard. Recognition of our ethnicity, nationality, and humanity, our liberty and justice that eliminates shade, and the dangerous color system that gives privilege based on race. Is Black our story? Black is not just the history of a small group. It is a 365-year-round promise to teach the entire truth. Not just a message for Black ears by the mouths of Black people. Lest our children repeat and create horrible sequels. This is urgent. Our children are worth it. We must use eyes, hands, hearts, and ears so the future generations will never have to question whether Black lives matter. Are Black people being blacked out today, tomorrow, or the shortest month of the year?
I don't really know how I follow that. Thank you so much for those powerful words, and we know that words do matter, and how we choose to use our words matters so very much. So thank you for being a powerful voice for the community. All right, so now we're going to move on to another part of the program that I know Fred Hearns has been working on so diligently and trying so hard to make happen. So I'm really excited to see how everything is going to come together so beautifully, I'm sure. So now we're going to cue the music, and we are going to welcome Ms. Sherry Brown, Vice President of Multicultural Sales and Development for Visit Tampa Bay, for a fashion show. Yes, fashion show extravaganza. Come on up, girl. Yes.
Good evening. I'm excited. It was very therapeutic for us as African Americans to dress up. One of my mother's sayings was, no matter how you feel, get up, dress up, show up, and never give up. We're gonna bring the models on. Vanessa, here she comes. Beautiful, graces the runway in a stunning creation, elegance and flair. This chic dress boasts captivating blend of vibrant orange and regal blue hues, guaranteed to command attention wherever she goes. Featuring a chic, diagonally crossed neckline and mid-length sleeves, the dress is sophistication. The flare at the waist adds a touch of drama, accentuating the hips for a truly mesmerizing silhouette. Yes, Miss Vanessa. There you go. Ona. Here's Ona. Beautiful, amazing, exclusive charm in a captivating African print. Maxi skirt captures the essence of timeless style. This versatile piece is a wardrobe essential. Perfect for every season, whether worn with a matching headscarf for a bold statement or paired with a cute for standout appeal. The maxi skirt promised to elevate any ensemble with a striking print and impeccable craftsmanship. We have Cheryl. Cheryl is so amazing and beautiful, isn't she? Come on down here, Cheryl. Cheryl radiates summer vibes in a breathtaking yellow off-the-shoulder African maxi dress in this to steal the spotlight. The vibrant hue design of this stunning dress gives glamour, while the long sleeve adds a touch of sophistication. Crafted from premium quality fabric, the dress offers a comfortable fit, style, making it a must-have for the fashion-forward individual. Thank you, Cheryl. Miss Bonita, come on down here, Miss Bonita, and show them what you got. Miss Bonita captivates in an exquisite African print shift dress that says temporary charm and timeless elegance, boasting a vivid pink, green, yellow pattern and a chic out-of-design shoulder. This dress a true showstopper. Miss Bonita, show them what you got. Karen shines a beautiful, this young lady is so beautiful, shines a beautiful maxi skirt, combines style and comfort with an elastic waistband, ensuring a perfect fit. The skirt is wardrobe essential for the fashion-savvy individual. The striking design makes a bold statement of its own. Paired with a solid top accessories, this maxi skirt promises to elevate any ensemble, its effortless charm and undeniable allure. Kalia, come on in, baby. Show them that walk. Show them that walk. We got it. That walk I showed you. Kalia radiates youthful elegance in a chic mini skirt. Modern sophistication, craft, unique African fabric. The eye-catching piece is perfect for any occasion. Whether it is a home birthday party, the mid-skirt is sure to make any young person feel beautiful. Okay, here comes the amazing Gloria. Gloria dazzles an elastic African dress that displays style and sophistication. With this flare sleeve and mermaid fit at the bottom, this dress is a true showstopper. Paired with a matching headscarf, and it promises to make a bold statement wherever you go, whether worn in a special occasion or a night out on the town. This stunning dress is sure to tan heads and leaving impressions. There you go, Miss Gloria. Molly. There you go, Miss Gloria. There it is. Molly. Molly radiates charm, grace in a lovely African print dress that captures the essence of youth innocence and playful elegance, featuring a black and white pattern on the top by a vibrant red tulle skirt. This dress is a true delight, perfect for twirling, dancing, and is guaranteed to make any little girl feel like a princess. And we couldn't have our show without bringing on our men. We have Donald, a sleek navy blue two-piece African set, a chic ensemble comprising a long sleeve shirt and coordinating pants. Bring it on, Donald. Bring it on, Donald. Bring it on. The attire ensures a slim and flattering silhouette, but also comfort, allowing movement and confidence. This woven African print embellishes the top, adds charm and style to the set, ensuring compliments whenever you go. And we're gonna bring the models on back together. And all of this fabulous fashion is from African extravaganza and actually came from Nigeria. Also, we're gonna bring the models back to the front to show them what we all have. Beautiful models, come on. Aren't they beautiful? Give them a hand. Give them a hand. Thank you. And in the words of my mother, no matter how you feel, get up, dress up, show up, and never give up.
I love that. I love that quote. Let's give them another round of applause because that was just, I just love that. That was absolutely incredible. Fred, I hope you were pleased. All right, now it is time for a very, very, very special presentation by the History Center's Frank E. Duckwall, President and CEO, Mr. C.J. Roberts, who is a treasure to this community and cares so much about preserving the history in this area and telling the Tampa Bay story, of course, which includes the African American experience.
Wow, how do I follow that? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our third annual Black History Month reception. What a special evening and fun event. Now, as many of you know, education is at the heart of the Tampa Bay History Center's mission. As stewards of the many, many stories that define the Tampa region, we work tirelessly to document our community's diverse history and share it broadly and widely with visitors and residents alike. And I often say that the very best things that we're able to do as an organization are the result of strong partnerships that we have formed. And one of the earliest partnerships we established was with Hillsborough County Public Schools. From the thousands of school children who visit annually on field trips, to the outreach that we're doing to schools, to our teacher training workshops, the close alliance that we formed with the district really helps ensure that we're maximizing our value to our area teachers and students. Well, several years ago, our curator of Black History, Mr. Fred Hearns, worked with school board member Lynn Gray, who is here somewhere, and Ursula Odom, one of our terrific volunteers, to establish the Thurgood Marshall Club. Located in schools across the district, the Thurgood Marshall History Club is dedicated to exploring and celebrating our region's African American history. The work these clubs are doing really is a vital part of student education, and it's something that we feel very strongly is worth investing in. So, as we've done for the past 2 years, a portion of the funds raised from tonight's event will go to support this program. Each year, happy to do it. Each year, we choose a school which has demonstrated particular accomplishment with its Thurgood Marshall History Club program. And this year, it's my privilege to present a check. Usually I'm asking for money. Tonight I get to give money away, which is really cool. Present a check for $1,000 to Egypt Lake Elementary School to assist them in continuing doing their great work. And I know we have some representatives from the school here, and I know Mr. Washington, Ms. Gray are both here. Would you all come up and accept the check? And then we probably want to do a picture. Fred Joyner.
Well, after that fashion show, how can we hold up? I'm showing them over here.
Okay, hold the check.
Oh, yes, thank you. Biggest check I'll ever hold. Very much deserved.
Very well deserved.
Oh, okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay. All right.
The floor is yours.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Shalima Roberts. I'm the assistant principal at Egypt Lake Elementary. I just wanted to say on behalf of myself and our coach of the Thurgood Marshall History Club, thank you so much to the Tampa Bay History Center and all that were involved in just helping our students to understand, love, and appreciate Black history. It is programs like the Thurgood Marshall History Club that allows our students to foster the love of history, Black history, and to just understand the impact that we've had on our nation and actually the world, because like we've heard before, Black history is American history, and we want to make sure that our future knows that and understands that. So thank you so much for having us here tonight. Thank you.
That's just so wonderful. And I always say, almost at every event that I MC, that as a news reporter, a lot of times when I'm coming into contact with students, it's because something bad has happened. And that's a difficult thing, you know. Reporters are human too. And it is just so wonderful to see our children being rewarded for doing the right thing, for being scholars, for being smart, for being astute. So thank you to the History Center for recognizing and encouraging students to achieve and go forth and learn about Black history and just be successful in the world. So at this time, we also want to make sure that we recognize, Ms. Gray, before you go, we want to make sure that all of our elected officials who are in the room, those from the school board, those from the district, I saw Cindy Stewart here as well. I know a couple of Tampa City Council members are here. Please stand so that we can recognize your attendance at tonight's event. Thank you so much. And at this time, we will now welcome former Representative Edna Rain, who is VP of External and Legislative Affairs for AT&T. Come on up.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. It's definitely a pleasure to be here with all of you here tonight. Excuse me. If you know the nature of the relationship that Senator Joyner and I have, you know that I'm always encouraging her to write a book. She is taking her sweet time. But when she asked me to introduce her here tonight, I thought about what would the theme of this book be about? You know, the Arthenia Joyner story. Would it be, as her father used to tell her, Henry Joyner, to whom much is given, much is required? Or would the theme be related to the many firsts she's been privileged to accomplish throughout her life? I know that the chapters would be filled with stories of struggle, pain, defiance, sacrifice, and heartbreak. But I also know the stories would be overrun with chapters of success and achievement and perseverance and triumph. Many of the people in my generation, we ask ourselves, what would we do in the face of inhuman and destructive segregation that we saw during the 20th century? Would we have the courage and the strength and the fearlessness needed to stand up to injustice the way our elders stood up? You see, in every phase of Senator Joyner's life, she stood up and spoke for what was right. She protested segregation at the Tampa Woolworth counters as a teenager. She was arrested protesting segregation as a student at FAMU in Tallahassee. And she was arrested again protesting apartheid while serving as the president of the National Bar Association when they were visiting Washington, D.C. And even today, in the backdrop of a state government that refuses to value the history of Black Americans in its complete and truest form, her life accomplishments stand as a living protest against those who would want to pretend that her battles for equality and justice were just made up in her mind. You see, as a little girl, she was in the presence of Mary McLeod Bethune. As a student, she sat in the shadows of Representative Joe Lang Kershaw. And as a legislator, She followed on the coattails of the Honorable Gwendolyn Cherry. But thankfully, when it was time, she stood up and she blazed a trail that will be so difficult for so many people to be able to follow. She was the first black female lawyer in Hillsborough County, the first black lawyer, period, in Polk County, the first woman on the Tampa Chamber Executive Board, and the first black on the Tampa Airport Authority. But when I got to know her, she became the first black woman to lead the Florida Senate Democrats in the legislature's history. So when I'm asked by other people to describe her, the words that come to my mind are, she's tough, right? She is a fighter. She is a legend. But she's also courageous, and she's fearless, and she's loyal. She is literally a superhero in a red St. John business suit that used her voice and she used her pen as a weapon for justice. So she hasn't lived an ordinary life. When the Arthenia Joyner story is finally written, Senator Joyner, it will not just be any other ordinary tale. So tonight, it is my pleasure to introduce you to a mentor to many, an unabashed champion for women's rights, a warrior for the civil rights of all people, but most importantly, a friend to me and to my family, the Honorable Senator Arthenia Joyner.
Thank you. Now you know why I asked Ed to introduce me. That was phenomenal. Thank you so very much. You know, truth be told, I didn't know Ed Narain when he was running for the legislature, and I was supporting the opposition. But life has a way of getting things right, and I consider him the son that I never had. Thank you for the invitation to speak tonight at the 3rd annual Tampa Bay History Center Black History Reception. Thank you, Mr. Roberts, President and CEO, the Board of Trustees, and of course, my friend, my church member, and a man a few years younger, Fred Hearns, the curator. And of course, we are honored tonight to have a distinguished gentleman here with us. And Bobby Bowden, my classmate of 1961 at Middleton High School, we were talking about how the Reverend Dr. LaFayette was a few years ahead of us. And so we watched him as he moved up and said, we can do it too. So thank you so much, Reverend Dr. LaFayette. I remember him from Ybor City. Truth be told, I was raised in Ybor City also. In preparing my remarks, I can't forget the 10 most important people in my life. My family. I want you to know that I have nieces, nephews, great-nieces, great-nephews, great-great-nieces and nephews, and my sister here with me tonight. Would you all just hold up your hand and let everybody know? That 6-year-old reminds me of me when I was her age. And then my two good friends, Mona Newsom and Rosalie Smith, whom I call on daily. In preparing my remarks for this event, it struck me as we gather here in Tampa to celebrate Black History Month that 160 members of the Florida legislature are also gathering in Tallahassee. The 2024 session is currently wrapping up its proceedings, leaving a legacy that begs more questions than answers. I challenge you to examine what is actually driving their agenda and expose their true intent. It was starkly apparent in early February with Senate Bill 1122, which would ban local governments from removing Confederate monuments from public places and would financially penalize officials who allowed this. In addition, all that had already been removed would have to be restored at the cost of the government or whoever removed it. This was heard in the Senate Committee, Community Affairs Committee. One by one, members of the public appeared before the committee asserting why such a measure was needed. Finally, a lawyer from North Florida rose to speak and ripped open the curtain for all to see and hear. This process of removal of statues that have historical significance that are over 100 years old is part of the culture war being waged against white society, he said. Perhaps doubting that she heard correctly, one Republican senator asked for clarification. Here's the reported exchange. I do not believe people who support this policy share your perspective on supporting white culture or supporting the concept of the need to push white supremacy, is what I heard. White culture, white supremacy. So I just want you to clarify. That was your intent in your public testimony today. Without hesitation, the attorney responded, yes, it was. Remember, all of you, the erection of monuments to the Confederacy began in earnest in the last century, during the height of the KKK and the Jim Crow era. They were not erected to celebrate the triumphs of the United States of America. These representations, carved in stone, carved into mountains, and forged of metal, were raised in salute to the Confederate States of America and its commitment to human bondage. They served as a constant reminder to all people, and especially people of color, of the social hierarchy and the strict limits to their freedom and liberty. A number of senators on the committee expressed shock and outrage at the remarks verbalized that day and disavowed any support for hatred of white supremacy. But nevertheless, they voted for the bill. This bill was listed as a top priority by the Republican Party of Florida, and it is presently in its final committee in the Florida Senate. I have been witness to this scenario before. As a young child in Lakeland, Florida, I saw the white flowing robes and the hoods hiding the cowardly faces of the Ku Klux Klan as they marched through my town on their missions of terror. My father rushed into the house, locked the door, and gathered us together while simultaneously pulling the shades down and cutting out the lights that might illuminate us inside our home. I asked, why were they wearing robes and hoods covering their faces? And then my father said, they don't like colored people, as we were referred to back in the 40s and 50s. And before that time, they don't like us because of the color of our skin. And this was the Ku Klux Klan's way of assuring that we would stay in our place. Of course, we were frightened, but my father said, don't worry, I won't let anybody harm you. I was part of this group of human beings, this select group of Americans that were allowed to peer in but never enter, whether it was attending a movie premiere, ordering food at a lunch counter, or simply taking a drink of water from a non-colored fountain. We were always last, we were always second class, and we were always separate and unequal. In 1963, 8 white ministers publicly admonished the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. for his unwillingness to slow down the march for equality or even to negotiate. They could not understand the urgency of his calls for nonviolence actions and protests against segregation and inequality. From a jail cell in Birmingham, this is what King replied. You deplore the demonstrations taking place in Birmingham, but your statement, I am sorry to say, fails to express a similar concern for the conditions that brought about the demonstrations. I'm sure that none of you would want to rest content with the superficial kind of social analysis that deals merely with effects and does not grapple with underlying causes. Yet it is precisely those underlying causes that are flourishing once again from politically ambitious men and women who echo this message across our land, condemning wokeness in similar terms. The perpetrators of this war on culture, class, and race cannot even begin to define the term wokeness, but it is squarely aimed at people like me and people like you. My days of protest, as Ed stated, began when I was an 11th grade student at Middleton Senior High School in Tampa, where Clarence Ford, who lives in Progress Village today, has always lived there. He was the president of the NAACP Youth Council. So he came to Middleton High School and he met with the late George Edgecombe, who was the student council president at that time, who later became the first black judge in Hillsborough County, for which the 13th Judicial Circuit Courthouse is named. Also, at the same time, Shafter Scott, who was the president of the student council at Blake High School, was asked to do the same, recruit 20 students to participate in the desegregation of the lunch counters in downtown Tampa at Woolworth. And so they did. I participated, and my father was rather hesitant about it. My mother said, you do what you think is right, and we will support you. Don't worry about your daddy. I got him covered. Well, you have to factor in that he was 20 years older than her, and so as a black man who was born in 1901, it was only natural for him to be hesitant for us to speak out against white people who had been suppressing us all our lives. My protest continued as an undergraduate student at Florida A&M University, and in May of 1963, my participation landed me in jail, crowded in with other students protesting against segregation at the Florida Theater, a movie venue just a stone's throw from the Florida Capitol. This resulted that night in all of the students being ROR'd, meaning we were recognized on recognizance to the dean of students. And so the next day in court, they dropped the charges. However, we came home for the summer, went back to FAMU in the fall, participated again in the demonstrations at the theater, and we were arrested again, only this time they made it clear this is a second offense, and you're not walking out of here. It resulted in a $500 fine or 90 days in jail. So after spending 14 days in the Leon County Jail, I vividly recall Florida A&M sent out books so we could study, so when we got out of jail, we could pass our classes. And the shadow from the sun on the bars that came across our books, is something I will never, ever forget. But I want you to know that a brother in Tampa who knew that the food was horrible showed up on a Sunday, and the guard came and said, Arthenia Joyner, There's a man out here by the name of Alton White, and he has 21 chicken dinners for you. And there were 21 of us. Oh, my God, that was a great day in jail. So after spending those 14 days in the Leon County Jail, Francisco Rodriguez, an Afro-Cuban lawyer from Tampa, Florida, who is the father of Dr. Cheryl Rodriguez, who is a professor at the University of South Florida, he came to Tallahassee along with William Kunstler, who was a prominent civil rights attorney from New York. They came and arranged for the students to be released. And of course, Henry Joyner, the same father who had been reticent about my participating, I'll pay a fine, and he did. And I returned to campus along with the others. Many years later, I joked that little did I know at that time that one day I would rise from the floor of the jail cell to the floor of the Florida Senate. But rise I did. I was one of the 6 students of the 1968 graduating class of the original Florida A&M University College of Law in Tallahassee. We were the final class to graduate because the law school was shuttered, closed, thanks to underlying causes. As I took my final exams, I watched in heartbreak as our textbooks were removed from the library and taken to Florida State University, a move which began after states were required to integrate. And the Florida Board of Control, as it was known then, withdrew its permission for FAMU's law school to admit students in 1966. That was the same year students were admitted to Florida State University's College of Law, an institution founded with the help of a former Supreme Court justice and prominent segregationist. It was a sad day for us. We cried as we lamented the fact that this was the end of an era of educating black students who wanted to be attorneys so they could fight for the rights of their people. But out of the ashes rose the law school again in 2000, 34 years later. And the first class began in 2002, this time in Orlando, Florida. In 1968, upon graduating from law school, I began work as the legislative aide to then Representative Joe Lang Kershaw, the first black elected to the Florida legislature since Reconstruction. It was underlying causes that ensured that the only other blacks in the Capitol building were maids and janitors. Representative Kershaw and I were the only 2 black professionals in the Florida legislature in 1968. As an attorney admitted to the Florida bar, it was underlying causes that stood in the way of my practicing law. Because as the first black female attorney in Tampa in 1969, no one would hire me, not a law firm or government agency. So I did what a sister had to do. You know what we do. We take care of business. I opened my solo practice, and the rest is... And the rest is history. Come June 20th, I will have practiced law 55 years, longer than any black woman in the history of the state of Florida. And to God be the glory. Over the ensuing years, ridding us of those underlying causes was a driving force for me, whether as an elected or appointed official, whether I was fighting apartheid here, as Ed said, as president of the National Bar, which is the oldest and largest organization of black lawyers, judges, and law students in America. And that was in 1985, where I stood along former Attorney General Ramsey Clark, and Congressman Father Drennan as we were arrested that day. But this was a fight for me to continue what I knew my purpose in life was. In the fight for equality, everyone matters, or no one at all. In his letter from jail, Reverend King also addressed the negotiation structure he observed. A remarkable prediction of the future we unfolding before our very eyes. Too long has our beloved Southland been bogged down in a tragic effort to live in monologue rather than dialogue, he lamented. That shift to one-sided monologue has been underway in Florida for some time now, but escalated quickly once the current governor was elected. It also took root across our country as state after state yielded to the propaganda that set the stage for the rise of men like the former U.S. President, number 45. As our governor turned his ambition to the office of the presidency and tapped a compliant legislature to booster his hard right agenda, Florida led the way in showing the American people the fragility of democracy, our liberty, our freedom, and even our lives. We showed the world firsthand the consequences of blindly obeying those who out of one corner of their mouths proclaim how free we are, while restricting that freedom to limits they themselves impose upon us. The First Amendment was the first to come under fire, but only in the response to the death of George Floyd, not the attack on the nation's capital. Here, a crackdown on our rights to free speech was unleashed, allowing the police to decide when a protest becomes a riot and whom to arrest. That was the legislation that the governor made sure passed. So legislation was passed, as we all know, banning the broad teaching of Black history, along with the banning of books a parent or non-parent decides on a whim or a challenge. Nothing is more terrifying or frustrating to me than to watch as these rights and others slowly erode one by one. Rights I have dedicated my life to securing, especially when the power to protect them rests squarely in our hands. In 1965, as the 54-mile march for voting rights from Selma to Montgomery was underway under the watchful eyes of federal troops, a columnist described the scene as follows. You have not lived in this time when everything is changing until you see an old Black woman with mud on her shoes stand on the streets of a southern city singing, "We are not afraid." The South, as it has stood since 1865, is gone, shattered by these people in muddy shoes, standing in the street and swaying and singing, "We shall overcome." Beatings, dogs, water cannons, lynchings, all of this was thrown at us to stop our march to equality. And it can be told better by our special guest, our namesake of this program. He knows he was right there in the middle of all of it with Dr. King in the serious fight. I marched, and in Tampa, we didn't go to jail. They negotiated and worked it out. The mayor got a biracial commission, and a few months, 8 weeks later, Tampa was opened up. Tallahassee, we went to jail. We were fine. We spent some time, and that was it. But you got to hear it from the mouth of a person who actually lived in all of that horror. We knew even then, though to many today seem to take it for granted, but that march to equality begins at the voting booth. The power of the vote opens the doors to a better education, better housing, better jobs, a better life. That ballot we cast ensures that we too are part of this U.S. Constitution. And when a Declaration of Independence insisted that all men are created equal and entitled to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, it meant people like us too. Anything worth having in life is worth fighting for, and anything worth fighting for is worth protecting. Why should our freedom, our liberty, and our right to vote be any different? I will leave you with these final thoughts. There's an election coming this year in this nation that will likely determine once and for all whether we continue as a democracy to live as free men and women or succumb to the radical right-wing forces hungry to seize control of our life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Too often, I hear pundits cite the lack of turnout among blacks as the factor that determined an election's outcome. Don't let that be our legacy in 2024. At the wonderful young age that Bobby and I enjoy of 81, I stand here tonight at the crossroads of history and the future, able to see the darkness that threatens and the hope that can conquer of the generations that fought to bring us to this point. The generations who held up the blood-stained battle, and the generations to whom this torch is passed and entrusted to bring us even further. The mountaintop beckons, ladies and gentlemen. Let us march. Thank you. Whew.
And here I am again wondering, how do I follow that? Was it just me, or was everybody else in the room just hanging on to her every single word? This is living history. And when she was talking about the KKK and her father and the questions she asked, this was in her lifetime. We are not that far removed from some of the things that have happened in our past. Now, I stand before you as a journalist, and as a journalist, it is my obligation to be not this way, right down the center. But I will say, covering what has happened or what is happening here in the state of Florida as it relates to history has kept me very busy. It's kept me very busy. And it is my obligation as a journalist to continue to cover this and to be fearless in telling this story. So thank you, Ms. Joyner, for being history, for sharing this history, sharing your words of wisdom, and for offering so much inspiration for people like myself, and I'm sure for so many people in this room. Thank you. And as we move on with the program, you might notice that we are supposed to have a musical selection. Unfortunately, Mr. Mitchell was not able to be with us tonight, but he does send his heartfelt best wishes. Tonight, we gather to celebrate the spirit of nonviolent action and social justice, guided by the legacy of one of the civil rights movement's most influential figures, Reverend Dr. Bernard LaFayette Jr., Ybor City native, a living legend in our presence. His life's work, closely aligned with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., has been a beacon of hope and resilience, from the Nashville student movement to the Selma voting rights movement as well. His dedication to peace and to equality has inspired countless individuals to pursue justice through nonviolent means. A special highlight of this evening is the presentation of an award in honor of Reverend Dr. LaFayette. This award recognizes outstanding commitment to social justice and nonviolent action, principles that Dr. LaFayette has always championed and continues to champion to this day. It is a privilege to have him here to present this award, symbolizing our shared dedication to continuing the fight for a just and equitable society. Please, please join me in welcoming the one, the only, the great, Reverend Dr. Bernard Lafayette Jr. to the stage as we move forward with the presentation of this prestigious honor.
Thank you very much. It is such an honor, one that cannot even be articulated, to have this occasion in your birthplace. I cannot tell you how pleased I am, and my family members are here, and we all grew up in Ybor City, right across the street from Have a Tampa cigar. In the front of us, and the Garcia Vegas on the side of us. So I grew up surrounded by cigars, and I won't take time because there's nothing we can do to even compare to Ms. Attorney Joyner. I remember her, yes I do, and we are so proud of her. And I just want to just say this, and then I'm going to move on. You know, we have to admit that women have really made a remarkable and tremendous contribution in terms of leadership for change. Yeah. That is something that you would never be able to find out. My great-grandmother, May Lou, was the person in the Florida State Fair. She was that great big old fat lady who used to ride on the, said, that's May Lou, that's my great-grandmother. She was Native American. Yeah. And then I had African, Native American, and then Cuban, and French, and all that kind of stuff, you know. Like my birth name, you know, on my birth certificate, you know what it is? It's not Lafayette, it's Lafayette. Yeah, French, yeah. And I found out that my relatives were on the Titanic. Most of the men died because they were the one that saved the women, you know, who were on the Titanic. So we didn't have a lot of men left because they were busy saving the women, getting them off the ship, you know, and that kind of thing. So they drowned because they made that sacrifice. But as I look back and I see the contribution that all of the people in this room, Fred Hearns, no comparison in terms of the contribution he's making and moving ahead. I never thought that I would see this happen. Yeah, but I want to not go any further without introducing my wife, Kate Lafayette, who's here with me. Kate Bulls Lafayette. Guess what? Y'all all heard of Booker T. Washington, haven't you? her father was his office boy. Can you imagine that? Living with history. Yes, okay. Still live in the house that he built 90 years ago. Yeah, so it's a museum now because he has those stuff in it. But I want to. Now, the only thing I want to say, and so we can move on, because I'll be coming back every year, right? Yes, sir. Yeah, okay. Is Joyner write the book? Yes. Can you promise me you're going to do that? I want an autographed book. Yeah, autograph it. Ought to be grafted. That was a wonderful, wonderful presentation. You really do it. And I'm going to quickly tell you this as part of my history. I used to work at Blue Ribbon Grocery Store in Ybor City. A difference, you know. Okay. All right. I don't have time to tell you all the different things that happened there. Okay. But I used to sell out the vegetable counter on Saturdays so I can go to church. We were St. John Baptist Church then. So then I wouldn't have anything to sell on Sunday, so you know what they did? There's the Jewish people, you know. They took me to the vegetable wholesale place and put me in charge of buying enough so we wouldn't sell out. So you got to watch what you succeed in. Then they took me and put me in the, because I used to sell out so much. You know how I sold out all that stuff? I used to teach people how to cook. You're looking at a cook. Yeah, I got some pot liquor in my refrigerator now. Yeah, I grew up on that, okay? Yeah. Yeah, pot liquor, that's the juice from the collard greens, yeah. It's baby food, that's what it is, before, you know, and cornbread and pot liquor. I grew up on that, yeah, okay. And you know what they did? When I started selling out all the vegetables, even when I had to go and buy some more in a wholesale, and I sold all those out there on 22nd is where they used to go. And you know what they did? They took me away from the vegetable counter, because it was almost a long wall full of vegetables counter. And you know what they did? They put me in the butcher. Yeah. You're looking at somebody who's a butcher. I know how to keep kosher. Yeah. I also know how to make sausages. That's why I don't eat them. I succeeded so well behind the butcher counter. You know what they did? I wasn't but 14 years old. They took me over in the parking lot on Sunday because no cars were over there. And you know what they did? Taught me how to drive a truck, a panel truck. I had my driver's license at age 14. That's right, because they taught me how to drive. Like I took 3 girls to the prom. Yeah, because I could drive. Well, I have some bad news to share with you because some of you may not know. We lost Alma Seniors, you know. Yeah, she lived in the house with me. That's growing up. What you are witnessing here and what's been created by these leaders, the elected leaders, as well as the selected leaders, okay? Showing you what the history of Ybor City is, and Tampa, and West Tampa. And being able to show not only what has happened, but what we can make happen. And you are doing it. I am so proud of you, okay, of what you're doing. And I'm glad to be here, and I'll be here as long as I can. And I want you to be here as long as you can. And so we'll be here long. Thank you. Now, this is a special award that they have created for me, and they want to make sure I come back to Tampa on a regular basis. So they gave me this award. And my job was really not to do a lot of talking, but to present the award. And guess what? The first year, I was going to present this award, and you know who they gave it to? To you. And I had to present it to myself. We are so proud of you. You have really set another stage. And so that people, especially these young folk, they will be able to see what's possible. What you've done is incredible. And on times that you were arrested, and, you know, I was arrested more than they said. They said they counted up, a policeman counted up and said I was arrested 27 times. They made a mistake. I added it up, and you know what happened? It was 30 times, because, you know why? Because I was arrested while I was already in jail. We're proud of you. Keep up the good work. Young people, this is your example, okay? We want you to know what's possible. And so don't ever think that the things that you face in life are impossible.
Yes, we'd like to get a picture of the presentation of the award. And before we do that, and we'd like to have a few words from you, Senator Joyner, but let me first say this is a certificate of authenticity. This certificate is your assurance that this award was hand-carved in Ghana by a specialized group of master carvers devoted to award products. The carving honors the history and culture of Africa, symbolic forms, and we want you to enjoy this timeless art treasure for generations. This is the Sankofa bird, which indicates that you should go back and fetch it. Treasure your history. Take a few comments, please.
I just want to thank the Tampa Bay History Center and Dr. LaFayette for the inspiration that he gave me as a little girl. He was 3 or 4 years ahead of me. So when you're in 9th grade and 12th, and he's in 12th and I'm in 9th, it's a world apart. But it was somebody to look up to and to try to emulate. And I'm thankful for having been selected by the Board of Trustees for this award. And all I've got to say is it's a fight worth fighting for. We've got to turn our people out. We've got to vote because our liberty is at stake. Thank you.
I think we have some trustees here. Would you come up and let's take a photo with the award presentation along with C.J. Roberts, our president and CEO. Thank you so much.
I hope you guys have been enjoying this lovely night of just so much history, camaraderie. It's just been amazing to hear all of the stories and to be in the company and presence of so many legends. Thank you all for everything that you have done for this community and for every example that you have set. We appreciate you all so much. At this time, we are going to bring up Mr. Fred Hearns because we are at the end of our ceremony tonight. So come on up, Fred, and give us some closing comments as we close out the night.
Thank you, and let's have a nice hand for Emerald Morrow. When she gets that call every year around Christmas, I think she knows what's getting ready to happen. Emerald, would you please come and help us with our program again? And she does a wonderful job, and we really appreciate it. And let me say that at this point, we're going to ask if Mr. and Mrs. LaFayette will, if you'll give them an opportunity to leave the building and go to the table where he's going to be signing copies of his book. We'd like for them to leave now before everyone else rushes out, if someone could escort them. And if you do not have a copy of his book, we have copies on sale at our museum store, just on the other side of the atrium. You can purchase your copy. If you already have your copy, you can have him sign it for you this evening. And we're going to give them an opportunity to start moving in that direction. Also, we've got a little more than a half hour. If you have not had a chance to see Travails and Triumphs, the other Black History exhibits on the third floor, and that might not be enough time because let me tell you, there's a lot to see. But I think it's enough to kind of wet your whistle and give you the opportunity to see what we have, and then come back and bring your family, bring your friends. There's really more than you can see at one time. Nice hand for them as they leave. We're going to continue with music in the atrium. The cash bar is still open. We still have, I believe, some hors d'oeuvres from earlier. You can enjoy those. And also, I just want to say again, I said it earlier, but I'd like to repeat, on Monday at 5:30 at St. James at Encore, we'll be launching our first Black History Book Club. And this will continue throughout the year. Pretty much every last Monday at 5:30 p.m. starting next week, in just a few days, we'll have the first session. We'll be discussing Up From Slavery, the autobiography of Booker T. Washington. Again, I want to encourage you, if you have not joined the Tampa Bay History Center, please take one of these brochures home. The information is on the back, the different membership levels. We really would appreciate your support. And finally, again, if you would like to be a sponsor of this program, next year when we have the 4th annual Black History Month reception, we would love to hear from you. And there are many things that you can do to support us. I'd like to see us maybe do something with that $1,000 check that we give every year to kind of bump that up a little bit, but we need your help and your support. Will you consider that for us? Thank you, thank you. And so with that, we have one other thing that we did. Oh, we have another presentation, and I need someone to unveil the map on the stand. Ashley Morrow is going to do that for us. This is a gift for Senator Joyner. This is a map of Tampa in 1958, when she was in the middle of making history. We hope that you'll find a place in your office or in your home, Senator Joyner, to hang this map. And when you do, hopefully you'll think about this evening. This has really been a wonderful occasion. Thank you so much for that message, for honoring us with your presence. And all of you, Please come back next year and bring somebody with you. God bless and have a good evening.